be joining us. Really good guys. Coming in from, I'm going to say chiming in. It's funny. From Australia. And then Yas. Yas is coming in from, I think, France, if I'm not mistaken.
Beautiful.
So, yeah. Matthew from the draft review will be joining us shortly. He's running a little behind. But, yeah, we can just go ahead and dive right into it. This is the beauty of having a generational prospect. You can do whatever the hell you want. Isn't that right, Ben?
Well, it definitely gives you a lot more options.
No, for sure. Let's get Chime up here. Man, it's been a week, y'all. It still doesn't feel real. I have played a numerous amount of 2K simulations. I have done a crazy amounts of research into trying to figure out and assess what all this means and what is going to change. Like, there's so much change about to transpire. And, yeah, man, I'm not going to take too much time. At first, we had Chime for a space, I'm going to say, about a little over a month or two ago. He reached out to me, had a lot of news about Wemby, and here we are today. So, Chime, I'll pass it to you, and then Giannis pick it right up then.
Hi guys. Yeah, Evan, that was like 2 months ago, I think, when we talked about all the French prospects. So yeah, we're pretty excited now to know that Victor is coming to San Antonio. It's going to be great for him, and it's great to know that his camp wanted him to be there all along. They really enjoy having him in San Antonio because they know he will develop well over there. They will take care of him, and they will not rush into things. So now we just have to see how he adjusts to the level in the NBA and whether or not he will join San Antonio for the Summer League. Because I believe the Summer League will be during the World Cup, and he wants to play. So I think he would join San Antonio very late before the season and would just join it for training camp. So I don't know how that will play out for him, but we'll see. He's a great player and great to have him in San Antonio.
And for what it's worth, the Spurs have been usually pretty good about letting guys go and play for their countries, during the Olympics, FIBA tournaments, World Cup, stuff like that. So you have to think that they'll let him go and do that too.
Yeah, of course, they don't want to upset any player. They just want to have him be happy, just join the Spurs and do as he likes. But if they have any doubt about his health or anything, they will pull him back of it. But I'm pretty sure he's gonna be great. He's coach already at the Mets. He's the coach of the French national team, so they're pretty safe with him going there and playing well and not getting injured during the summer. His coach took care of him. He had no injuries this year, which is very, very, very important to know, because everyone was scared that he would get injured. But now he seems great and in great shape. They really took care of his body, and it's great to have him like this.
And my understanding is they've got a whole team of guys stretching him out. They're doing everything they can for his feet, because I know everybody thought that the feet would be an issue with someone of that size. Yao Ming very notably had foot issues. So, is there should there be any concern, or does his team have it covered and there's nothing to worry about?
I think with those feet, there are concerned. They will always be concerned. But Victor has been a pro since he's 15, and he has one of the best training teams in the world. Obviously, in France, his agency put a lot of really great trainers with him, and he has a team in Dallas also working with him. So he's been to Texas many summers, and they worked on his feet specifically for a while to there's a video on it where they talk about how they trained him to have better elasticity in his feet and better strength. And it's very interesting to see how they worked specifically on this subject.
I appreciate you, Chime. We do see your requests. We will get to everybody soon. We just have to get through these introductions, and we have only a couple questions. We're gonna ask the guys up here, and then we can bring up anybody and everybody. So appreciate you, and steady to the answer to the question. That is a thumbs up. Yes, yes to your question in the DMs. Yas, appreciate you for tuning in. Thank you for for joining us, man. Tell people all about where you're from, your draft background, and anything you want to share. Earth to Yas. Come on, man. Come on, man. There it is.
Yo, so sorry, bro. My name is Yoz, so I'm part of the Undrafted team, which is an account where we offer like scouting reports, content on the future of the NBA, like French prospect, NCAA prospect, all of those guys. First of all, I really want to apologize for my bad English and for the little mistakes I'm gonna do. You can hear it. I'm French. That's why I'm with you tonight, guys, as a Frenchman to talk about Victor, who I had the chance to see play this year. Um, I don't think I'm. I don't think I can teach you some stuff about Victor. You've seen as much as I have. This guy is an OVNI, UFO with a limitless potential. So I think the really interesting thing is to share with you my feelings by seeing him not behind the screen but in person, and that's why I'm here tonight.
Awesome. Yeah, we definitely needed to have a few people just have the blessing, have the what's the word? I'm gonna shut up in a second, but have the opportunity. That's the best way to put it. To see Victor in person play before he stepped foot in America. There's a lot of different rules in Europe. He's been camping out in the lane for God knows how long. He would still be in there if they're still playing today, and he's gonna have to adjust to a lot of different rules. And speaking of rules, the draft review, we've had a number amount of podcasts together over the years talking about multiple aspects of the draft. You and I have have a long background, but your background is deeper, man. You've covered every single draft since what year? Or exactly? It's been a long time, long while.
Well, I first started in '98, and then I've been an NBA draft historian. I've chronicled every single draft since 1950, every player drafted. So yeah, definitely been doing it for a minute.
Make sure you guys check out his website and his link in his bio. And also follow everybody on stage, of course. But the draft review, feel free to tell anybody about about your background, real quick, and just I guess a fact or something you're excited about Victor in San Antonio.
Yeah, sure. So, I originally started out working with Aaron Smith at NBADraft.net very early on. After that, went to college, did my thing, and then decided to live life a little bit. Started to hone in on history. Like I said, I researched every single player that was ever drafted, chronicled them, scouted, their stats and height, weight, birth date, all that crazy stuff going way back. And, I've really been, like I said, keying on the draft every year since '98. And then in terms of this draft, what I find so interesting, I just think that, Victor is one of these guys that, um, the only guy I can even think of that even comes close to him would be Ralph Sampson in 1983. And of course, I wasn't around during that time. So I'm excited to see this. I mean, this is something that, hasn't happened. And he's definitely a unicorn among unicorns. So I'm pretty excited to see how this career, happens at the NBA level.
I'm kind of glad Mets 92 lost. I know that we shouldn't be rooting against his team, but he only has what, maybe one more month before he suits up for the Spurs. And in terms of affecting his body, in terms of him just getting ready, I'm surprised we haven't seen a Coach Pop and Wemby picture together. I thought that was going to shut down the timeline a couple of days ago. He is in Paris still, apparently. So we'll talk about that later. But Ben, just to wrap things around just the room real quick, I'll start this question. I'll wrap it to throw it to you. So I hate that Spurs fans are torn already. People want to jump right in and start not necessarily competing, but they want to bring a superstar, whether it's Jaylen Brown, Dame, Pascal, someone on that caliber. I want to pass it to you. You're the Spurs guy. You've been doing this for a number of years. In terms of what the Spurs just are used to doing, in terms of being they have obviously never been in this position before, but in terms of what you just feel their notion is to make the moves in free agency in the draft. Not necessarily the moves, but what do you think that they're necessarily going for? What are some of their goals that they're going to try and achieve? And maybe if you have like a trade asset you want to talk about, possibly, we can go there, and then I'm going to pass this question around the rest of the room.
So for me, this first year is very much get Victor Wembanyama comfortable playing in the NBA, playing with the Spurs, playing under Popovich, all of that. It's a trial year. Expectations are low. It would be nice if they made a play-in. That would be great. I think it would be a nice booster, a nice jump spark for this team, and they kind of get a taste of the postseason, and they can say, "Oh, okay, we're a good team. We can do this. We can get to a postseason." I don't think they're going to do that with some of the free agents that are going to be available this offseason, especially because a lot of them are going to want to get paid a lot of money. And granted, the Spurs can give out that kind of money. They have plenty of cap space. But is it worth it for this kind of free agent class? I mean, you're talking about a lot of older guys who are available. I mean, Russell Westbrook is available, but he's going to be 35 next season. James Harden has a player option. Nobody knows what he's going to do. Chris Middleton has a player option. Depending on what the Bucks do, he may decide I'm out if they're going to blow it up, and he could be available. He'd be a nice small forward, but I'm not sure he's the guy you go out and sign and take away minutes from Jeremy Sohan and other guys who might be playing at the three. Kyrie Irving is an unrestricted free agent. I wouldn't touch him with a 20-foot pole. That's me personally. But potentially an option. I don't think he and Greg Popovich would get along particularly well on off-court issues, but a guy like Kristaps Porzingis might be available, but he has a player option, so I don't think he's going to go. D'Angelo Russell might actually be a nice option. He's going to be an undrafted, or not an undrafted, he's going to be an unrestricted free agent. He's only 27. There are big men out there if you want to get backups who can help your locker room. Maybe a Kevin Love. I doubt a Nikola Vucevic would want to sit on the bench for too long. That's a guy who's going to demand minutes and demand a hefty salary. So, there's a lot more free agents. But if I'm the Spurs, I think you just go out, you get a couple of guys to shore up your bench, some good veteran locker room presence. It's got to be guys who are cool with not getting a whole lot of minutes, but they're gonna help your culture. Not that the Spurs have a bad one, but they're going to be guys who are not issues in the locker room, and maybe they help you maybe they help contribute to a few more wins along the way as well. I think the Spurs should be patient this year. I think really next year's free agency class is where they might want to strike out and swing for the fences. I think there's supposed to be a lot of better players, and that's what year 2, year 3 with Wembanyama is probably when they're going to really want to start competing, because you got to convince Wemby that, hey, we can put a team around you. You're the superstar, but we can give you the role players and we can give you the sidekicks that you need to get to the playoffs and make legitimate runs. So for me, stay pat, keep it simple. don't go swinging for the fences on a couple guys. Basically, just go out, get free agents that'll help you. They're good locker room guys. They're not going to cost you too much, and just get above the salary floor that the league is about to impose.
There was a excuse me, sorry. There was a great amount of mentions that I had today with a lot of candidates, from Gabe Vincent, Austin Reeves, Mike Connolly, a lot of Peyton Pritchard fans, apparently. I don't know where they came from. He had his brother-in-law play for the Austin Spurs a good while back. What's kind of crazy, Ben, is that while we don't have any inside information per se, and while we're just throwing out a lot of these names and what could fit, we have people on stage that can bless us and tell us, hey, maybe this type of player archetype, this type of pick and roll action, this type of rim protector fits around Wemby the best. Because I think today was a real. If you saw Wemby play today, it was kind of evident. This guy's, I don't want to say lazy, but he brings the ball up so nonchalant. He has such a passive play style. In terms of somebody that can get on his butt, that's Craig Popovich. In terms of a rotation being set and ready for him, the Spurs can re-sign a lot of these guys back and reassure that, hey, everyone's biting into the role without spending a lot of money on big name free agents. So I'm gonna pass this question to Yaz and to Chime. You guys have seen Wemby play in person. Is there any type of combo guard, any type of secondary playmaker that you think in free agency or in a trade that would be a good fit for Wemby? Think that on their competitive timeline, doesn't have to necessarily be young, but just the player type. I've had Gabe pump the what was his name from Washington, Morris from Washington. What's his name? Another one, DeLon Wright. These guys are veteran point guards, but I would just love. It's so hard to think about. I would just love to have a 22, 23-year-old set starting point guard that could just be a good set piece for the future.
Yeah, you said a lot of good names that would probably fit, but I would start to say that Wemby will fit with basically anyone. And on the team already, there are a lot of players that fit with him. I really like the Jeremy Sohan fit. I like Trey Jones, even though he's a restricted free agent. He would be a good point guard to play with Wemby, especially in his first year. I would not like to bring any big name free agents, even though there are not too many. But I've heard people talk about Fred VanVleet and so on. I do not like this idea, especially for his first year. But to talk about the archetype that would fit next to Wemby, it's more about putting a team that will understand how he plays and what he needs. So he likes to pick and pop a lot. He maybe does it too often in the French league. In the NBA, he will have more space, maybe to get inside and to have mismatch. He's a great passer, so he will need guys around him that know how to shoot, and he will get doubled a lot. We've seen him with the Mets this year. He gets doubled a lot, and he manages to pass out of the double team and find the open shooter. I like guys like Gabe Vincent, you mentioned. That would be like a good fit, even though still I'm not sure how he would how that would work, but I'm not going to talk about finances or whatever. I'm just going to talk about fits. Guys like Gabe Vincent, guys that can shoot. You talked about Monte Morris, and I really, really like that one. Monte Morris would be a great choice. He's a vet. He knows how to handle the ball. He shoots. He's just great. Great for what the Spurs need for year one of Victor Wembanyama. But I don't know. The list of free agents is not really. There's no one that comes to mind that would work perfectly today. So I'm fine with sticking to Trey Jones and maybe trading up in the draft. I don't know what Yoz thinks about it. I'll let him speak after me.
I I don't know what to say because I think I don't know. I'm not worried at all about fit with Victor. It will work in any case. I'm just want to see him. I just want to see him share a racket with Sohan or some player like that. Uh, I I think D'Angelo Russell is free agent this year. I really like this type of player. Uh, with a guy like Victor, you can give him the ball. You can make some great plays with those guys. Um, I like Fred VanVleet too, but I don't know. I'm not worried at all about the fit for Victor. Seriously, I think in all of the case, it will work because Victor is just a UFO. It's just the type of player you stop, you watching him, and you learn new basketball. Um, I don't know. I don't know how to say it to you guys.
Real quick. So you mentioned guys like D'Angelo Russell and Fred Van Fleet. These are perimeter centric, um, balanced all around, but inconsistent point guards. This is no shade. This is not me just trying to trying to one up anyone that I mentions that's been said that's been denying the Fred Van Fleet to San Antonio rumors just because he said a certain thing to Coach Popovich in a parade a couple years ago. But real quick, in terms of to get back on track, in terms of the type of point guard that you can have in terms of an option, Seti, I'll bring you up, bro. I promise. Give me like 5 minutes. I promise I'll bring you up. If you have to have um, a balanced point guard that's always a threat from deep, that knows how to cut, that is well balanced, that has quick feet, you don't have to be the best defender necessarily. You don't have to be the best defender. It's a plus. I would love it, but you don't have to be the best defender next to Wemby. D'Angelo Russell would get 24, 25 minutes because we have to have some pick and roll action, some classic Spurs basketball, some dribble handoffs galore, and that is a table setting point guard. There are multiple out there that can do that. There are multiple out there that will not turn the ball over to do that. In terms of getting guys up the floor, in terms of hitting guys for the right in stride for the right shot, D'Angelo Russell and Fred Van Fleet are going to have Coach Pop pull his hair out at times. But that same type of player, aka in a Devontae Graham type of role, someone that is in a diminished role, you have to have for floor space. And we've seen Duncan Robinson lure out so many defenders, having simple give and go actions with Bam Adebayo and get open shots, and either a dribble handoff, a fake pick and stall where he goes around he goes around his own teammate. But yeah, real quick, the draft review. I want to pass this to you. There's been a lot of trade rumors in terms of guys that you can possibly trade up for. The Spurs can get Casey Wallace. We haven't heard a lot of Jalen Hood-Schifino talk, and that's honestly my fault. Honestly, more than anybody, that's my fault. Do you want to talk about some real quick, Anthony Black included, some real quick, those three prospects, and what do you think? What would it take to trade up for them, knowing that Anthony Black is probably a top 8, Casey Wallace is probably a top 10, and Jalen Trifino, we really don't know, but he's honestly the perfect fit. And there may be some teams trying to, I don't want to say get in the way of that, trade up for that, but he may be taken ahead. We've seen so many teams do that, get in the way. OKC, Houston likes to play that card. Go right ahead, man.
Yeah, I mean, out of all those guys you mentioned, I think the probably the most obtainable and the most desirable that wouldn't cost you an arm and a leg would probably be Hood-Schifino. I think, to your point, I think Black is going to probably be in the top 8. And who knows? I mean, I think this draft is going to be really. We're not going to be able to predict this draft very well. I got a feeling. I think there's going to be guys in the first round that no one projected for the first round. I think Casey Wallace. There's talk that he's been falling a little bit, but I don't know. I mean, everybody's playing their best hands of poker right now. I'm not a Casey Wallace fan like many people are. I don't think he has a lot of wiggle, and I do worry about him in terms of shot creation at the next level. But yeah, Hood Schifino, I really, really think he's got a lot of stuff. He's got ideal size. He creates. I mean, I think if there's a glaring problem, it's probably he's not the most explosive, and he does go through periods of inconsistency on his jump shot. But I mean, that's the guy that I would really, if I had to, try to get a chip that I could get something good on in this draft and not spend a ton to acquire. I think you could move up probably in the top 15 and get a Hood Schifino. I like that a lot for them.
Ben, I'm going to pass that same question to you. Walker mentioned Kobe Buffkin. Spurs can definitely need one more combo guard. One more combo guard is open availability on the rotation. Someone that could play next to Blake and Malachi and just be a secondary playmaker. Did you have any favorites before I pass it to Seti?
I did. I like Anthony Black too, but I would agree there that he's probably not as obtainable. Just the size does it for me, and he frankly was asked to do a lot at Arkansas that an NBA team won't ask him to do. So he kind of showed people, I'm not really supposed to be doing this kind of stuff, but I can do it when you need me to. So I like that about him. A little bit of it is, I like Cason Wallace a bit. I think, he may not have the wiggle you want, but that's a guy who's going to be a very good perimeter defender. And if you bring back Trey Jones and you're comfortable with Trey Jones shooting and his shooting improves, you can use Cason Wallace as a catch and shoot guy where he was very good for Kentucky. And I think I said this last week too, but Kentucky notoriously doesn't showcase its players very well. They limit them in what they do, and they don't, like Karl Anthony Towns, great example. I don't think he really ever shot threes at Kentucky. Is a very good shooter in the pros. So I think there might be some stuff that Cason Wallace is kind of hiding, not by any fault of his own, just that's how Coach Calipari had him playing. So, if you're looking for a good lockdown perimeter defender, I think Cason Wallace is your guy. But I would really love the opportunity to get at Anthony Black. But I'd agree that, Jalen Hood Schifino, very obtainable, a guy you can probably get at the end of the lottery or just outside of the lottery. And there is probably going to be quite a bit of unpredictability in this draft just because there are a lot of guys who played really well at the combine. There were some guys who weren't at the combine. There were some guys who just measured and didn't do scrimmages. There were some guys who apparently were interviewing well. And, obviously you have to have the physical stuff to go with, the maturity and the mental and that all the other things you have in the interview. But to me, if Anthony Black is somehow there, I would love to have him. And his hair is phenomenal, so that, him and Sohan together would be, it would be incredible as far as hair shows go. But for me, that's what it is. That's how I feel. Let it ride.
That's funny. Real quick, I have to mention this, Seti, just real quick. When it comes down to Anthony Black has a notion of being predictable. In my opinion, when he drives, he's going to only throw a floater up in an emergency type of situation. He was only aggressive in the first quarter of the season. Anthony Black in the Spurs pick and roll, he'll rocket that cross-court pass that only Alonzo, Jokic, Luka type will make, just from a flick of the wrist, no look, right? That's cool. In the pick and roll, man, he's not taking a mid-range jumper. He's very predictable in terms of being not the quickest first step. He is 6'7". He's a true jumbo initiator. But man, he has the hesitation moves, all the off the how do you say the and one type of animations to make guys get thrown off. He's a very, very, very ball-oriented guard. But every type of screen in the pick and roll, people are going to go under. And Cason Wallace, just real quick, Cason Wallace reminds you of that one really, 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 really hardworking JV point guard that is diving on the floor, trying his ass off on defense, working his butt off, always trying to make the right plays, but he's a basic playmaker. He's making the most simple, basic reads, and he's not advanced at all. That's where Anthony Black has his favor. And Cason Wallace in a simple pick and roll offense with Wemby, it makes things easier, but that's still a lot of pressure to make sure he doesn't turn the ball over. And we can talk about that later, but Sadie, I appreciate your patience. It is 30 minutes now. The levies have opened. You can get a little raunchy if you want to, honestly, man. This is just a Spurs space. We are still celebrating. We're still living on a high dream. Make it take fairly quick if you want to. That's all you, man. Go right ahead.
No, I actually had a legitimate question. So it kind of ties into the conversation about like our options at point guard, and it kind of I'm glad I have some draft experts too, because it kind of I have a plane passing me, so I apologize. But so basically, it's this. So Charlotte and Portland have the second and third position in the draft, right? I know I was talking to Evan about this a little bit earlier. If I'm Charlotte, right, like if they think LaMelo is going to be their point guard of the future or their cornerstone piece, right, that probably means that like they're not going to want to draft Scoot, or even Portland if they're serious about like just building around Dame still. I guess my question is this, right? Like if they do want Scoot, don't you think that they might be willing to listen or entertain trade options for LaMelo, right? Or vice versa. Or if they just want Melo, that like maybe that we could, entertain us moving up to the draft to take him, or Portland. I guess what I'm saying is I see a way that we can either get LaMelo and or Scoot, depending on how these teams view their situations.
I've said it a couple of times. Charlotte has not made any indications. You can't necessarily tamper just quite yet that they're going to take Scoot. It would be cool. The Puma boys are back together. They have all the indications that it could fit in an electrifying backcourt with the new NBA. But latest I've heard is Scooter Henderson is in the city of Portland, Oregon, currently, right now. We do not know what is going to happen. Portland may trade up to 2. They may just give him I don't know what they may give him. Who knows? I'm gonna pass it to Chime and Yaz. We haven't heard from you guys in a minute. Has there been any? What's the question I have? Has there been any news you guys have heard in terms of the latest from like a Ryan Repair, a City Sissoko, any one of these guys? Not just because they're French, but just international guys that may have been tied to the Spurs. And then I have another question that has nothing to relate to this. That's why I got to pass it to you, and then get to that. You guys go ahead.
I'll start and I'll let Yos finish on this. But as we've talked about earlier this season, Evan, the Spurs have been linked with Ryan Rupert because I've heard they talked with him a lot when he was playing in the NLB. They were checking on his progress in English, in his game, everything. They were very keen on knowing him a lot better. They like him, but I don't know if that means they will eventually trade up for him or whatever. But they do like him, and it's good to know that he is part of the same agency as Victor, so they will obviously have contacts. I don't know about City Sissoko. I have absolutely no idea if the Spurs have been linked with him, if they talked with him, or how much they went to see him in the Ignite. But there's one French player that really intrigues me for the Spurs, and he's one of the players I've seen play the most this season, and I know a lot of you guys really like him too. And I think Yos can talk about him really good too. It's Bilal Koulibaly, who is part of the same agency as Wemby, was playing in the same team as Wemby, and he is one of the fastest risers in this draft class. So Bilal Koulibaly, I don't know, Yos, if you want to talk about it more and how he could help Victor in this first season and the seasons to go.
Yeah, I'm agree with you, bro. So Sissoko and Rupert are still player in construction. Sissoko comes with a real playmaking talent, but handle that it's still too weak to be a point guard. So I'm not sure about this fit, but Rupert is a crazy talent, but he made a lot of work before he can really be a great fit in San Antonio. But I'm agree with you, Bilal Koulibaly, what a wonderful talent, maybe one of my favorite talent in this draft. I don't know uh, where you can go because it's just too much talent, too much promise, um, and I think I think San Antonio really can develop this guy, and he really fit with Victor Wembanyama because he's a little bit crafty, with a great scoring talent. And I really like this type of players next to Victor. Um, and yes, Bilal Koulibaly is a very, very young player and a wonderful player. But I think Brandon want to talk, so you can go, Bob.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. I'm a Spurs fan from New York, actually. And honestly speaking, this is one of the greatest days of my life when Victor was drafted. Um, so this is a huge, huge celebration for all Spurs fans, to be honest with you. My question for the room is, what do you think is the honest best case scenario after we draft Wembanyama? Like, what do you think is the best case for what we do with the 2 second-round picks, what we possibly can do to trade up? Like, what's the best case scenario in you guys' opinion?
I have never thought about that. Actually, that's crazy. That is wild. Give me a second to think. Ben, Seti, Matt, you guys have anything?
Well, because I actually kind of think it adds into this because I feel like you glossed over my question real quick, Evan. Because what I'm saying is I
LaMelo
see
Ball
three
is
point
not
guards
coming
that
to
aren't gonna hold
town.
up.
LaMelo Ball is
No, no,
not
look,
coming to
look. I see
town.
3 point guards that aren't going to play together, right? So, like with Charlotte and Portland, if either one of them wants Scoot, they're going to come off Melo or they're going to come off Dame, bro. So what I'm saying is like there's opportunity there.
That's true. And I did say the Jaylen Brown tweet is still valid. I will have to pay over 100 people their freaking tickets, and Dame Lillard got to answer that tweet. But here's the thing. If Dame Lillard comes to town, there's a package that starts with Keldon, Devin, and how many picks? So many other teams would have to get involved, and I just don't think that there's any way the Spurs would still be drafting in that position. 33 would have to be taken. Toronto's pick would have to be taken. Charlotte's pick next year would have to be taken. All the Hawks picks. Yeah, I don't know. And the reason I glossed over it, man, honestly, because I had a brain fart, and I just did not think that anybody actually believed that LaMelo Ball and his reckless behind is going to come to San Antonio. So I just can't see that. But um,
Well, what I'm saying is like we can't just think of it just San Antonio. Wemby changes the game, dog. Like
that's
if
true.
these other players think that he's that generational, they could want to come play with him. So it's not really about San Antonio. It's about man, like I want to go play with this unicorn alien looking dude.
You know how much of a prima donna, I'll wrap this up real quick, but you know how much of a prima donna LaMelo is? LaMelo Ball, if traded to the San Antonio Spurs, he would hit that Wemby and be like, hey, bro, I got the number one. That's my thing. I got the number one. You pick another number. It's petty behind. Anyways, I have the only scenario that I can think of that's realistic that would work. I actually had this in my notes. I said this to Austin. I said this to Ben. Um, the Spurs can basically solidify their bench being playoff floor ready. Like they're playoff floor ready, and it's with a Keldon package for Miles Turner. It would either be Devontae or Doug McDermott going back to Indiana, and it is also a Tyus Jones trade around Blake Wesley and Devontae Graham / Doug McDermott. Now, in this scenario, this isn't the best case scenario. This is just me saying what I truly do think is going to happen. In my opinion, as of right now, the Spurs can trade for Tyus Jones, and they can have him split 30 and 18 with his brother. That's not a bad idea. That is not a bad idea. You sign Austin Reeves, you have him as a 6-man. You have your starting lineup as the Jones brothers pretty much splitting this 48. Austin Reeves and Devin Malachi all getting 25, 26 plus minutes. One of them's probably going to be hurt. One of them's probably going to be on a minutes restriction. And if they're all healthy, so be it, right? Sohan is a 3. KBD's re-signed. You back him up. You re-signed Don Barlow. That's going to be a little expensive. People are going to be real surprised about the type of money he's going to be offered. And then you have Zach Collins as a backup, Charles Bassey as a backup, Mamu as a finesse forward, as a finesse 4, only guarding like the Dwight Powells of the world, Davis Bertans of the world. And then pretty much that's your team, man. You can try and sign Ryan Rupert at pick 33 if he's there, but that's not going to be a thing. And then you have to bring back shooters. You need shooters galore for minimum contracts. So Justin Champagny, someone like that, somebody like that's going to play his role. Did anybody have anything else? We haven't heard from you, Matt, in a minute. Ben, I've been talking for 2 minutes and I've got to shut up. So somebody help me out here.
I appreciate you answering that. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Gotcha.
I don't know. I feel like if the Spurs are going to make any sort of trade, I'm doubting it's going to be a big one involving someone like Damian Lillard. Although Portland is weird right now. If Damian Lillard decides, you know what, you guys, I'm finally had it with you guys. You know, you keep saying you're going to build a team around me and you haven't given me anything to work with. I want out. You know, he holds all the cards in that scenario, and they've got to find a trade partner. Spurs have the assets to go out and get him. And if they do go out and get him, you now have a legitimate star point guard who you can pair with Wembanyama, who can mentor him throughout the process. Damian Lillard has seen some postseasons. Obviously, Greg Popovich has seen his fair share. But, you know, you have a guy who's deemed one of the clutchest players in the league. That'll be real helpful in that first season when all eyes are on Wembanyama. There's late game situations. Maybe Wembanyama's not quite ready for it. You have Damian Lillard there either whispering in your ear or taking that last shot for you. So if there's going to be some sort of home run swing for the fences trade, it's going to be for Damian Lillard. And the Spurs will.
You think that's more likely than Jaylen Brown? I mean, I've been reading a lot of reports that they're basically to the point to where they're tired of acting like they like each other, and that Jaylen Brown might be getting ready to basically demand his way out of Boston.
I could see that too. I mean, they have really been trying to convince us that those two guys are very good friends for 3 or 4 years now, and you know, people are just not buying it. But I would say that's more likely than Jaylen Brown, only because the Spurs have a very glaring need for a true point guard, especially if Trey Jones, for some reason, they let him walk. But even if they don't let him walk, you know, Trey Jones is a good point guard, but he's probably better served as a backup point guard. And backing up Damian Lillard would not be the worst job in the world, let me tell you. So I think that is more likely, only because to get Jaylen Brown, you're going to have to give up a lot. And frankly, I'm kind of terrified of trading with Brad Stevens. He kind of came up in the Danny Ainge tree of GMing and front officing. So I have zero interest in trying.
What do you think it might look like? Like, what's the worst case scenario?
Oof. I mean, the Spurs will definitely have to give up several first rounders, probably even a couple of their own, and probably a player or two to even out the contract situation. I don't have the numbers in front of me, so I can't say for certain. But they'd probably end up giving up a guy that a lot of people like, and they wouldn't feel great about giving up, knowing that Jaylen Brown has kind of been playing Robin for a lot of years.
Wait, so that's what you're scared of? Like, whatever you just described, I'm all aboard that train all day, every day. If you're telling me it's some picks and maybe like a player that we like Devin Vassell for Jaylen Brown, to put him next to Wemby and Sohan, now you got your trio of the future. You do that all day, every day, bro.
The outbidding for Jaylen Brown is going to get nasty. As far as I've heard, I think I said this in the space earlier. Jaylen Brown is dying to go back to Atlanta. Don't necessarily know what that trade package is looking like. Another team will have to get involved for sure. I'm pass it to Yaz real quick because he put his hand up. Walker, appreciate you for joining us on stage. Go ahead, Yaz.
Yeah. Sorry, guys. Let me interrupt you. I think it's not that easy. Let's give Victor some time, please. He's not even in the league that you want to bring him some of the best guards in the league. Give him some good role players first. Uh, I don't know, bro. You're dreaming if you think if it's possible with Lillard or Lamelo. Uh, let's let the guy just go in the team, and we will see. You talk about Lamelo, Lillard, Brown. It's just a dream. Sorry, guys.
Oh, it's getting spike. It's getting. No, I'm sorry. I was messing. Appreciate you guys.
A little spiky there.
Oh man, Walker. Appreciate you. There's no shade on the stage. There's no shade. That was just a good
Well,
take.
look, man. So I was actually on y'all's side. Honestly, a couple of days ago, I was on this. Well, let's just bring Wimby in, basically give him a red shirt year, let him get in the weight room. You know what I'm saying? Don't really try to swing for the fences and all. But I started to think about it, man, and I'm like, bro, like, why? You know what I'm saying? Like, because I honestly believe that Sohan is going to develop into, the best defensive wing in the league. And I think Wimby is going to be, we all understand what he's going to be. So really, man, like we need one like star to like make this trio happen, and then you can just supplement the roster after that. So if you can go get a Jaylen Brown, I don't give a fuck what you give up for him. If you can give me my trio, if you can give me my three studs that we're going to build off, my Tim, Tony, and Manu. I'm not saying they're going to win as much as that, but you get the point. Like if that's the trio, then you can do whatever you need to do to fill the roster after that. So that's just I know I'm a little bit more aggressive than some people, but I feel like if you can go get a Jaylen Brown, dude, like you go get it.
But if I'm Boston, there's no way I'm gonna let you keep Sohan.
So that's what I'm saying. So,
That's
but
also how
yeah.
you end up like Dallas. That's also how you end up where Dallas is currently.
Dallas doesn't have a trio like that.
Right, but they made these irrational moves, like this irrational Kyrie trade, and lost a lot of assets. Where now it's like, okay, we're just totally stuck, where we have to do this thing now in the future, whether it's going to work or not.
I just think Wemby, Sohan, and Jaylen Brown is so far like separate from whatever Dallas did, trying to bring in Kyrie Irving. Like I don't feel like the conversation is even remotely close.
Luka is arguably a top 5 player in the league, and Kyrie's one of the best scorers.
Kyrie's literally radioactive. He literally blows up.
Okay, where's the mute button?
So like,
where's the mute button? Wait a minute. Walker.
All right,
How you doing, buddy?
listen, Kyrie is a problem in that regard.
He is a problem, but that's not like you have to. I'm a firm believer that they have to get the core right and bring like when you eventually make the move for the star, it has to be the piece. And I'm not convinced that anybody this offseason is the piece where you're like, okay, now we're ready to roll. I think you need to get some of the other stuff right first. Like I think I still am kind of team. All right, let's kind of figure out how the guys that are currently on the roster fit around Wemby and what that looks like and kind of who stays and who goes from that point. And then maybe I've always said the offseason of 2024, and then I'll give credit to Austin, that 2025 when that cap kind of goes up and you kind of gain a lot of that cap space, then you can kind of look at free agency and be like, all right, hey, look, Sohan's getting towards that second contract. Wemby's been in the league a few years. Let's go be a player in free agency, and hopefully we already have a lot of natural talent on the roster.
Oh, that makes sense from your perspective. I think where we disagree is I think more highly of Jaylen Brown than you probably do, because I think that he is a bona fide superstar, and if he was in a different situation, we really see him flourish. So I guess that's where the disagreement.
See, and I don't think he's a one. Like I don't think Jaylen Brown is a championship one. And maybe Wemby is, but I think it's a lot of pressure.
Well, me neither. I think Wemby be your one, but I think that he'd be a good number 2.
But you're putting a ton of pressure on him to do that now, knowing that you likely are having to trade for Jaylen Brown after he's received the Supermax. Like you're putting a ton of pressure on them to get it right pretty quickly, and I'd rather not do that to the 19-year-old rookie. That's just me.
And don't do that to my wallet. Goodness gracious. Okay, a full stage. Hey everybody. 70 listeners, full stage. It's the first time we had a full stage, right, Ben? Look at that. A full
Gotta be
stage.
one of the first, yeah.
A full stage. Walker, did you have anything else that you want to say? Is there any type of free agent you want to talk about? Is there any type of direction you want to steer this conversation? And then we're going to go to Ja Real. Ja Real,
I'm starting the Kobe Buffkin discourse, man. I think I'm in on Kobe Buffkin now. Like I think that's a thing I want to do. Which granted, I think a lot of that is contingent on, hey, I can't get back in from Anthony Black or Kaysen. So like, but I am in on Kobe Buffkin's fit on this roster. That's something that I was talking with somebody about today, and I think that's something that would end up working. I think he's a little bit more mature as a player too already. So, other than shot selection, he doesn't know when to not take bad shots. But yeah, that's pretty much it. You know, I'm a Nas guy. I've said it a lot, so I won't go down that road again.
It's very true. Chime is saying, Walker, preach. That's hilarious. That's so funny. Eric, I'm trying to get you up here. It says it's an error. I think it might just be a full stage. So I'm going to try and get you up here, brother. I promise you. Ja Real, real quick, before I pass you the mic, I have never interacted with you before. I just followed you today. I would be so disappointed if you were a troll. This was a great space. This was a great conversation. I hope you have a logical question. Go right ahead, buddy. Floor is yours.
So I don't have a question. I just want to say a couple of things. I just wanted to say how excited I am for the next several years of Spurs basketball. Victor Wembanyama is going to be such a center stone for our team. I'm not even trying to be a homer or anything like that, but man, we really got our luck. Lady Luck has been smiling on the Spurs in the draft, and in our 3 worst seasons, we got the number 1 pick. I'm so thankful for that. And by the way, I also wanted to say, the Rockets, I hope they continue to be at the bottom of the league. They don't deserve to succeed. Fuck the Rockets.
Whoa. I'm so sad, guys.
No, I ain't mean like that, but
I come to you with good intention, and you say something like that. I'm a Rockets fan.
Oh, Lord.
I'm really sad.
I apologize, Dan.
You see it. You see it.
No, I'm a Rockets fan, but if I know one thing, it's that San Antonio is the best place for Victor. He will be able to evolve perfectly in this young team.
Nah, I apologize for that, but nah, for real. It's a little bit of Texas rivalry right there.
Love you, bro. Love you.
It's all and I gotta be careful. I've been in these Rocket spaces for a good minute now, and I'm making friends. So I think I'll might need some protection when I go make my trip to Houston. I think it was Jay. Jay got up here first, and then it was Matt. Chime and Yaz. There's no telling how nasty this can get in terms of everybody on stage. Everyone has great takes, but sometimes, we don't know. So if either of you guys had to dip, it's all love. No big deal. Same thing with you, Matt. But I will start rotating people out. There's no hard feelings if nobody wants to bounce. But Jay, the floor is yours, and we're going to go to Matt. I think Jay was first.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? I like talking basketball. I think that the spirit of what I forgot who it was saying what Dallas did was true, was that they felt that Luka came into the league as such a mature player as far as playing winning basketball that they could skip steps, and that's how they found themselves with a roster of like 6 guys approaching 30, and it just didn't work out, and so they found themselves in cap hell, and so then they go get the Kyrie trade, and then now they got to make a decision because they didn't extend Christian Wood, and Jason Kidd and Christian Wood don't agree with each other, and so you're kind of looking at a situation where Dallas should tear it all down and try to build around Luka again, but by the time that process is finished, you're probably going to lose Luka for free in free agency. And I think with Wemby, your priorities are get a body like Brook Lopez in free agency so Wemby doesn't have to bang at the 5. Possibly poach, Austin Reeves level talent. And then as far as your second round pick, I kind of like the idea of y'all shooting for Imani Bates, just like a little gunner off the bench. He's in San Antonio. He can't get in trouble in San Antonio. You know what I'm saying? There's no trouble to get into San Antonio. And I think if there's a place where Imani Bates can mature and be a young man out of the spotlight, I think it's San Antonio.
Real quick. Matt, please tell everybody that's listening where Imani Bates ranked after the combine in terms of his testing and measurements, where he ranked all time.
Man, he's at the bottom, man. Unfortunately,
the bottom.
Unfortunately. Was it worse than Patrick Baldwin?
Worse. A neck
Yeah,
heel.
unfortunately. Yeah,
Oh, wow.
unfortunately.
I didn't know that.
And I'll say this for Imani.
I didn't know
I
that.
thought at the combine and the scrimmages, I thought he had great energy. I thought he had good body language. I mean, he did everything he could to dispel the notion of what he built his reputation on at the prep level and his 2 seasons in college. But I mean, there's just so much working against him at the next level. I'm not saying I wouldn't take a chance on him, but it would be like a really, really late second round pick or maybe even a 2-way contract. I don't know. Like he's got a lot of work there.
Great scorer. Polished scorer. That's it.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like, not that you're drafting him to become Manu Ginobili, but just a second unit gunner, and just a piece for Pop to kind of play around with because he has size. I hadn't really followed the draft scouting combine and stuff because I'm doing some personal career development stuff, so I was only so many hours in a day. But I mean, that's what my thought process was. That's all. I didn't mean no harm.
I get the mental the mental exercise. I'm just saying, unfortunately with Imani, I think you can just pick up better prospects with better ceilings in the second round if you're the San Antonio Spurs. I'm not saying that Imani's your thoughts on Imani are poor. I'm just saying that just for the Spurs and where they are, I think there's just higher percentage guys you can get with probably better outcomes long term.
Were you at the combine?
No, I was not. But
I was about to ask. I'm a Tristan Vukovic guy, and I heard some good things. I really hadn't gotten into it, but that's kind of my guy at 33. I think.
Oh no, he won't be at 33 no more. He's going to be in the first round.
Wow.
He killed it.
Okay.
Yeah, he killed it. Yeah.
Matt, I appreciate your patience. We don't do the hands over here, Tony Parker. I know that's the trend you saw. We don't do the hands. We're going to go Matt, Austin, Eric, and Tony Parker.
Is it my phone?
Go ahead, Matt. Let's do it. Come in, brother Matt. You sound like a bumblebee.
Yeah, it sounds like he's talking to a fan.
Drop down and come right back up, man. We'll bring you back in order. I believe it was Austin and Eric, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
hey,
man.
Evan, if you need to bring somebody up, I'm gonna drop.
We got
down.
no request, brother. You're good to stay. You're good to stay. Appreciate you.
All right.
Go ahead, Austin.
Yeah, so I just kind of want to circle back to the Jaylen Brown thing. The Jaylen Brown comes to two things, but I think we tend to forget the human aspect of these players. Jaylen Brown is not coming into San Antonio saying, "Yeah, I'm going to listen to the 19-year-old centerpiece. He's the best guy on our team. He's what matters." I promise you, Jaylen Brown does not give a shit like that. This dude's been to 4 or 5 conference finals, NBA finals. He does not give a fuck. I'm so sorry if this recorded space, but like those guys that he's Supermax eligible. And you got to think, do you really think Jaylen Brown's going to come in and care about a 19-year-old Frenchman? Hell no. We've heard vets talk about draft picks all the time. They don't care. They'll be a mentor, but I promise you, Jaylen Brown is not coming here with the expectation of, all right, defer to Wemby. He's the future. That's not how he's going to think. It's rare where any normal guy would think like that. And secondly, you have to get a promise of an extension. Because for all you know, you sign him for that year, he goes, yeah, I can get paid anywhere and be the guy and not have any pressure. Bye, I'll go to a bigger market. So I'm not a big fan of that because it's not his fault. I don't blame someone for thinking that way, but that's just, I'd rather get a guy close to the same age as Wemby that would recognize those things. And in terms of Dame, Portland said, hey, we're building around him. That's what we're going to do. Dame has made whole rap professions off how loyal he is. And that's his next EP coming out as Loyalty.
God, no, you didn't, bro. No, you didn't.
Yeah, that's his new mix called Loyalty. Yeah, so it's just I feel like Dame's in a situation where I'm not going to go until you tell me to go type of thing. Like, that's what's going to happen. It's going to have to be Portland forcing his ass out. He'll never demand a trade because he's built his brand on this loyalty shtick. It's insane. So maybe you can get involved in like a 3-team trade that sends some really win-now talent to Portland and get that third pick. That's not impossible. Basically, it would involve you sending Hicks and Keldon to like Toronto, and they can send some sort of Siakam package plus filler to Portland, something like that. It's kind of a loose combination like that. So anyway, that's just what I kind of want to tie back to. I'm kind of in the middle of the line of don't go all in right now, but also don't stand there and do absolutely nothing. If the right move is there, move up in the draft. Don't be afraid to just not do anything. Maybe get an Oz Reed, who I've said before. Look at some guards to test out. I would love to move up in the back part of this draft. If we can't get third from Portland, I would love to get Wallace or Ant. So those are kind of what I'm looking at. Again, don't do anything. Don't do anything else for the sake of making moves. But also, I wouldn't do absolutely nothing.
Matt, you joined us back on stage. Appreciate you. If your audio is clear, can we get?
Hey, can you guys hear me? Okay?
We got JD. I promise, I did not forget about you. We will get to you. We got Eric, Tony, then JD. I'm sorry if you came up before them, but I promise I will get to you. Go ahead, Matt.
Okay. Yeah. So I just wanted to talk about the Austin Reeves situation. So like, the Lakers can offer him, I think it's $50 million, and anyone who wants to try to steal him away, like the max, like we could offer, for example, is $80 million. And like that's like, in my opinion, that's the only way to get him off of the Lakers roster, because like at $80 million, with them trying to bring in another like star player like Kyrie or whomever, like a $80 million contract for the Lakers is like a poison pill. Like eventually they'll have to get rid of somebody that they don't want to get rid of. So I don't know if like he's worth that for us. If we were to do it, I think that like we'd have to like front load his contract so that we're paying him less when the great off-season free agency of 2025 comes. But like as far as the whole Dame in Portland situation, like I'm not so sure that this new leadership in Portland really gives a damn about what Dame wants. Like he'll be angry and he'll try to force his way out, but like if they take Scoot, like I don't see us having much sway. Like why, if he doesn't want to play with Scoot, why would he want to play with another 19-year-old rookie? I don't see how we kind of fit for Dame, like why he would want to come here. I guess they could force him to come here, but then we would just have an unhappy player, and why would we want that? So those are just things that I think about, and I just wanted to know what you think about that.
You raise good points. Ben, I'll pass it to you after I say this real quick. Damian Lillard, when he talked about, I feel like this was last summer, he addressed trades, and he was pretty much saying he's heard so many crazy things from trusted, reliable sources in his life, whether it be people, other organizations. I don't know how they're reaching out to him, but he did say, like, if I leave Portland and if I find out, oh, this is how they run things here, and this is how I am, he would rather not be unhappy. And he said that during all the New York Knicks, Donovan Mitchell, all that nonsense that was going on last year. So, Ken, I'm going to get to you in a second. We have 3 or 4 people we got to talk to first. I see you unmuted, but we got to go Eric, then Tony. Oh, my man, I got the other guy left. Then we got you. So let me get to these 2 people first, and we got you, I promise. All right? Eric, let's hear your take. We can stick around for a good 10, 15 minutes, right, Ben? Maybe so, a little less. Go ahead.
Hey guys, I was just curious. My take is like I agree with the skinny Pat, but the guy I kind of like, he would improve the kind of the floor of the team, but also he would improve the defense, like a Cam Johnson, who I really like. He also helps out the 3-point shot. Also, it probably wouldn't be a bad idea if it can happen. I know the salary cap and all that. It's only a 1-year deal. Mike Conley coming in, kind of as a veteran guy, might be nuts, or people probably won't like that idea. I kind of like that idea of having somebody there to mentor Wesley, mentor the other guys, and Wemby, et cetera. And I have no problem also bringing back Trey Jones on a 2+1 if possible. I understand that's probably a long shot also. But to me, I think the guy I would go for, if there's no way you can trade back up in the draft, but I'm sure it'll be tough this year because it's pretty steep draft at the top, is to go after a guy like Cam Johnson, who's a solid young. He's not too old. I think he's like 20 something, like in his late 20s. Yeah. He's not super young, but he's also not old or anything like that. But he seems like he would be a perfect fit off the bench, kind of a
just a really good guy that can stretch the floor, help Wemby out. Just, and he's a good defender, and that's the number one thing I think that would help the team out a lot is just the defensive end. Is with Wemby, he's going to help raise that floor himself a little bit, but also just adding a guy like Cam Johnson, adding guys like him to help the other ones like Keldon Johnson would just help so much.
There's a saying that they had in Phoenix before they dealt him. They said Cam is awfully clutch, and he closed out a lot of good games for him. So in a closing lineup, sixth, seventh man type role, you can have multiple sixth men. Spurs fans, we've seen the Clippers have two candidates, the top three sixth men of the year awards. That was 4 or 5 years ago. But yeah, you can have multiple guys getting 20, 25 plus minutes every single night. We got a Knicks fan up here. Shout out to you. That's my guy, actually. Tony, floor is yours. Appreciate your patience. If you're here to spill more Anthony Black discourse, go right ahead. I'm here to side with you, but we are going to have a good, fair conversation if you're here to spill that on me again.
No, I'm going to defer from my typical Anthony Black and Kristaps propaganda. I'm just trying to see what everyone thinks of maybe Marcus Sasser in the second round. He's a guy I looked at in a few mock drafts, and he looks pretty decent to me, at least.
Yeah, Ben, I know you're a Marcus Sasser guy. I'm gonna pass this to you. Ben has been vouching for the Spurs just to take it easy, get a backup point guard with either pick 33 or 44, and Marcus Sasser should be there. So Ben, I'm gonna pass it to you.
Yeah, Marcus Sasser should definitely be there. Incredibly reliable point guard. Would love that pick for them at 33 or 44, whichever he may fall to. Might be a little undersized at 6'2", but played a really good brand of ball at Houston under Coach Sampson. So I like it a lot. That's a guy with a lot of experience too, which means he can come in right away and kind of plug and play in your offense a bit. So I can certainly appreciate that. I'd be a big Marcus Sasser fan at 33 or 44. I think it'd be a great pickup, maybe even a little underrated. I think he's probably solidly a second-round guy, for better or worse. If he had played the way he played this year, and it was only his freshman season, he'd probably be a lock in the 20s. But because he's a bit older, people undervalue that a little bit, and that's why guys fall at times. So I'd really like him there. I think that's a great call there on Marcus Sasser. Nicely done. And it's the guy who's in your own state. He's in your backyard. It's a win-win for everybody.
Matt, with the draft review, do you have anything on Sasser?
Yeah, I fully agree. I think Sasser's one of those guys that he'll get picked, probably in the second round, and we'll probably be looking back saying, man, this guy should have been a first-round guy. Wouldn't shock me if he has a 10-year pro career. If there's one thing I don't like about him, is probably that I don't think he doesn't have the best court vision. And I think sometimes he gets a little perimeter centric where he doesn't drive to the basket enough. But listen, he's tough. He works really good in pick and rolls. I just think he's as solid as they get. And I think he'd be a steal in the second round. I really do.
Ken Gordon, my man, we've had a great space today. I really hope. I truly, you don't sound like a troll. You really don't.
Oh, I'm not a troll.
Welcome to Spurs Twitter. If you have any questions about
glad to be
how
here.
we do things, or Victor or the Spurs, go right ahead. You're a Spurs fan?
Oh yeah, yep. I lived in San Antonio 10 years while I went to high school and after, and
where'd you go to high school?
Not become a Spurs fan during those years. Judson High School.
Okay.
And I was a Celtics fan when I got there, and I've always been a Boston guy because I was born in Providence. But as the Celtics turned bad and the Spurs acquired Robinson, Elliott, and company, I could not be a Spurs fan living there. So anyway, the only thing I wanted to say is that the Spurs certainly got a golden ticket, but I hope the fans and the team realize it's not a golden ticket for next year.
I mean, Robinson, Duncan, Sean Elliott, Ginobili, Parker, they were all drafted. I don't remember them making big trades, giving up assets to get those guys. And with the assets they have in 24 and 25 in the draft, with a superior draft class in 25 or 24 over this one and the cap space they have, I just hope that we can all be patient, enjoy the maturation of the team, which will definitely be better next year. I just don't want to give up the future that they have to make everyone happy this year, and the way everyone needs to be, you know, made happy immediately. I hope we can all wait and let this happen naturally, because I think that future would be 10 years of epic basketball.
10 years, not 15.
Well, we know he's not a diehard Spurs fan because that's way too positive and way too logical.
Hey.
Just look at the draft class and look who's coming out this year as opposed to next year, and look at the assets that we have coming. We're going to be better anyway. It's going to be so fun to watch the kid, and if we can watch the other guys, you can't forget about Sohan and Vassell and some of the other great young players we have. I don't want to go trading them all away to get 20 games better maybe, but then have our ceiling be lower. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say. Great listening to you guys.
Hey, thank you. Appreciate it. The big bad wolf is about to join us. Tavarius. But we got Knicks. We got Knicks 10. The Knicks 10 joining us first. I appreciate you. We've been talking about some draft content in the past couple of weeks. How's it going, man? What's going on with you?
Hey, man, I have nothing else better to do but to hang out with you right now in this fine Spurs space and, kind of live vicariously through that number one pick. And you guys got a lot of sexy stuff going on. I'm not, my one thing right now, I'm sitting here, I was talking to my son before I joined, and I was like, why didn't they get the earlier picks? Like, I'm like, oh, they should have the Atlanta picks too. Like, that's like pick 18. And we're like, nah, they got 2020, like 6 or 27. And I was like, oh, okay, I guess that makes sense. But then now that we know what we know, it's just like, those would have been solid picks, right? Like, I'm listening and I was just like, okay, what's, Q&A Spurs draft? It's like, okay, Victor, okay, space is over. It's kind of like in my head, I was just like, but yeah. No, but shout out to you, Evan, and this is Project Spurs. You guys always run a dope space. Evan's super knowledgeable. Definitely, we're gonna work on some cool, really cool. I'm really excited about that draft content that we're gonna be coming out with you guys. But yeah, just want to come up and just ask some questions on how do you see your team planning out for these next few years? Obviously, you got Victor. Are you trying to expedite the process and you're like signing other guys, or are you just gonna go through the process type of situation? Like, what's the perfect world for Spurs fans? Because obviously, everybody has a different way of wanting to do things. Knicks fans went through rebuilding, not even real rebuilding. You guys, I think, went through a little bit more of like real rebuilding and stayed patient through it. And just like, all right, this is not working. Trade this guy. And it was smart about it. Okay, get 3 picks for DeJounte, whatever it is. Now you might end up, trading other pieces. I don't know. I'm still learning. But always been a big Spurs fan from the Duncan and the Tony Parker, Ginobili. You guys always had I don't know. I've always been attracted to the Spurs, but obviously I'm a diehard Knicks fan. I've never really been like a Spurs fan, but I remember having like a TD jersey, just being into like fashion into New York, so I made sure I had to have a TD jersey. And
real quick,
yeah, just like you guys always have. Yeah.
How many drinks have you had today?
Drinks? No, I just had. Look, I'm a New Yorker, right? So New Yorkers are lively people, right?
It just sounds like you're all over the place, man. I'm just messing with you now.
No. This is just me generally. If you guys ever join the Knicks space, this is the stand. This is how I do. I am having some wine. I'm having the Federalist. It's a Cabernet. It's a Lodi. I don't know what a Lodi means, but it says Lodi on the bottle.
Yeah,
I don't know.
we got to keep it moving, brother. But real quick, in terms of what the
absolutely.
Spurs could do, ideally, the Spurs have a certain passion for certain type of players, and the interview process can only do so much. You don't want to necessarily have to overpay or sign guys that you don't necessarily know long term this is going to be an issue or this is going to be a question mark. So while we've talked over all these names, we've mentioned, I've kept up with it, mentioned over 70 names, not just this space alone, but over the past couple of days, guys that just are buy low, sell high guys, and all the way in between. But real quick, because we do have to wrap things up here. Tavares, you joined us at the right time. Shout out to you. Appreciate you. It's all love as always. Do you have a question about anything for Wemby or?
Yeah, I just got a general question. Hey, how many points did Keldon score? What was his average this year?
ESPN.
Not enough.
Someone get it. Someone got it. If it ain't me, hold up.
My man Tavares has been on this all day, brother.
Listen, everyone wants to trade Keldon, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So my point is, where's the point? Where are those 22 points going to come from when Wemby is load managing and Devin Vassell is being double covered? And they're going to leave Sohan. And I keep hearing this nonsense. Everybody wants to just run it back with Trey Jones and everybody. They want to run it back. So where are the points going to come from?
So we had this conversation a couple of days ago. I don't think you were here, actually. So this is how we're going to close out this space. Keldon Johnson had to shoot 18 shots. 18 opportunities. It goes up, it goes down. If Keldon Johnson is not there, there are 18 shot opportunities. 20, 25 maybe. Because we know Keldon Johnson ain't good.
For who, Evan?
All about
in the starting lineup for who?
The right opportunity, the right play. The Spurs
probably Victor Wembanyama, if I had to guess.
No, I said Victor's going to be resting.
He
on load management.
Took Victor off the map. He just shot Victor right in the chest. Anyways, when it comes down to it, the Spurs play the most perimeter-centric, patient offense, bro. You've watched it for how many years, Tavares? They wait for the last shot. Before Devontae Graham came to town, we were taking shots with the last 3 to 4 seconds every single time, unless there was a wide open read and a pick and roll, similar pick and roll, and no one was helping over on the weak side. At the end of the day, if you don't like Trey Jones, that's fine. We're gonna have to find another starting point guard. We can move on from that. Devin Vassell,
my man Kobe Buffkin getting 15 shots a game.
I can't see that just quite yet, but there's plenty of other guys. There's plenty of other guys that can have open opportunities, man. And at the end of the day, I trust as long as we have a leading table-setting point guard. For Trey Jones is the fringe line. We talked about that. He's the fringe line. You have to get above that and better than that. You have to find that, and you can trade for it. You can bring in another veteran piece. It doesn't have to be a 35-year-old point guard. It doesn't have to be a 26-year-old veteran, DeLon Wright. It can be anybody. It can be his brother. Literally, there's a guy mentioning if we sign Tyus, I don't know how long it would. I don't know if they would want to automatically re-sign Trey. It's just a business. So at the end of the day, the question is to your answer, or the answer to your question is simple. It's the next man up. Guys will have to step up. If you want Doug McDermott taking 2 more shots and then everyone else to take 2 more shots, all balanced all the way around, I think
we got to have Doug McDermott on the team again, too?
Say it again?
We're going to have Doug McDermott on the team again?
Who knows, brother? Who knows? I put him in a trade package earlier.
There's a whole last offseason left. Really, nobody knows.
So it's all about the next man up. And ideally, I'll say this. Trey Jones only helped his case to close out the season by shooting, close to 40% from 3, almost averaged a triple-double the last 8 games. I want you to imagine this. Trey Jones buying into playing 18 minutes a game, and we have a lead guard. It could be the Vasil Milicic guy. It could be the best of D'Angelo Russell if he buys into the Spurs way. I don't see that happening, but it could be anybody. And at the end of the day, Keldon Johnson had his last season taking 20 shots, no matter what team he plays for. Good night, ladies and gentlemen. Ben and I have to go. It has been a great space. We went overboard. It's over an hour. Ben, do you have any closing remarks before we go? Walker, you can attend to that if you need to. That's all I got. Ben, do you have anything?
No, I just happened to be here. Great conversation tonight. Appreciate everyone being here. We will see you all next
Ben's
time.
ready to eat.
I'm just gonna say Spurs fans got some poverty mindset. That's all. I'm gonna leave it with that.
Keldon is going to be an awesome Dallas Maverick.
Agenda. We are pushing agendas.
Terrible.
See y'all next week. Appreciate y'all.